Hey folks, welcome back to Stoic Relationships. Let's talk about something that cuts deep. Rejection. We've all felt it, haven't we? That ache when someone we care about suddenly decides we're not enough. Maybe it was a breakup you didn't see coming. Maybe it was a close friend who slowly drifted away, leaving you with unanswered questions. Or maybe it was a colleague who overlooked your efforts. Whatever the case, rejection hits like a storm, leaving us questioning ourselves. What did I do wrong? Could I have changed their mind? It's a universal pain, and in those moments, the temptation to act is overwhelming. You want to send a text, make a call, or show up at their doorstep. You want to explain yourself, fix things, and prove your worth. Because deep down, you believe that if you just try hard enough, they'll change their mind. They'll see your value and come back. But here's the brutal truth. Folks, the more you chase, the further they'll run. Rejection creates an imbalance, and every time you reach out, you give away your power. Think about it. When was the last time chasing after someone actually worked? Did it make them stay, or did it leave you feeling more defeated than ever? Let me share something powerful with you. The greatest response to rejection isn't to fight for their attention, it's silence. That's right, complete, unshakable silence. No calls, no messages, no attempts to explain, just silence. It's not about playing games. It's about reclaiming your dignity and resetting the balance. Now, I know what you're thinking. Won't silence make me look like I don't care? Won't it push them away forever? Folks, let me assure you, silence doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care about yourself enough to stop chasing someone who doesn't see your worth. And paradoxically, your silence can speak louder than any words you could say. Let's imagine this scenario. Someone rejects you, and instead of reacting, you take a step back. You resist the urge to reach out. What do you think happens? At first, they might feel relief. After all, they expected you to react emotionally. But as time passes, something shifts. Your silence creates a space that forces them to reflect. It makes them wonder why you're not chasing. It plants a seed of doubt. Did I underestimate them? Did I make a mistake? That's the power of silence. It flips the script, taking the focus off their rejection and putting it back on you. But silence isn't just about making them second-guess their decision. It's about giving yourself the time and space to heal. Rejection stings, but it doesn't define your worth. When you go silent, you send a message, not just to them, but to yourself. That message is, I am enough, with or without you. Let me ask you, folks, when was the last time you gave yourself permission to let go? To stop fighting for someone who wasn't fighting for you? Silence is a way of doing just that. It's not weakness. It's strength. It's choosing peace over chaos, dignity over desperation. And let's be clear, silence isn't easy. In fact, it might be one of the hardest things you'll ever do. The urge to reach out will hit you at 2 a.m. when the loneliness feels unbearable. It'll hit you when you see their name pop up on social media or hear a song that reminds you of them. But every time you resist, you reclaim a little more of your power. Every moment of silence is a reminder that you are more than their rejection. Now, you might be wondering, why does silence work so effectively? It's because it taps into a deep psychological principle, the fear of loss. When someone rejects you, they expect you to fight for their approval. They expect you to crumble. But when you stay silent, it disrupts their expectations. Instead of feeling validated by your pursuit, they're left with a void. And that void makes them question their decision. It makes them realize that you're not as easily replaceable as they thought. But this isn't just about them. It's about you. It's about learning to stand tall in the face of rejection and say, I'm worth more than this. It's about choosing yourself, even when it feels like the hardest choice to make. So, folks, if you've ever faced rejection and felt like you lost a part of yourself in the process, this video is for you. We're going to dive deep into the power of silence, why it works, how to embrace it, and how it transforms not just the way others see you, but the way you see yourself. Before we dive in, I want to take a moment to thank you for being here. If this resonates with you, if you're ready to reclaim your power and rebuild your confidence, make sure to hit that subscribe button. At Stoic Relationships, we're here to navigate the toughest moments together with dignity and grace. All right, folks, are you ready to explore the strength in silence? Let's get started. Step 1. Not a big deal at first. The start of ignorance. All right, folks, let's dive into this together. Imagine this. You've decided to stop talking to someone, not because you're angry or holding a grudge, but because you need space, time, and clarity. At first, it seems like they barely notice. They carry on as though your absence isn't a big deal. Maybe they even seem relieved, telling themselves they've dodged the awkwardness of confrontation. But deep down, you know better. This is only the beginning of how your silence will start to shift the dynamics. You see, in this phase, people tend to underestimate the significance of your silence. They think, oh, they'll reach out eventually, or this is just a phase. It's human nature to assume that what isn't immediately missed doesn't hold much value. But here's the kicker. What they're brushing off now is quietly planting seeds of curiosity and doubt. Your silence is working, even if it doesn't look that way at first. This step can feel the most challenging for you because the temptation to break the silence is real. Maybe you feel like you need to explain yourself, justify your decision, or even remind them of your worth. Resist that urge. Folks, silence isn't just the absence of words. It's an unspoken declaration of self-respect. By staying quiet, you're doing something bold. You're allowing them to experience the void you've left behind. When someone rejects you, their instinct is to rationalize it. They'll tell themselves things like, I don't need this person, or I made the right call. These are mental defense mechanisms. At this stage, they're leaning on distractions to avoid feeling the weight of your absence. They might dive into work, hang out with friends more often, or scroll endlessly through social media. But even as they try to fill their time, your silence lingers. It's not loud, it's not confrontational, but it's there. Slowly, it starts to creep into their thoughts. Why haven't they said anything? Why aren't they reacting? And just like that, your absence begins to take root. Folks, silence is powerful not because it's dramatic, but because it's so unexpected. In a world where everyone rushes to respond, prove a point, or seek validation, your quiet composure stands out. It challenges their expectations and forces them to sit with their choices. This isn't about manipulation. It's about giving them the space to realize what they've lost, without you having to say a single word. And that's where the magic lies. Your silence speaks volumes. At the same time, remember this, patience is key. Breaking the silence too soon, or making moves to remind them of your presence, will only reset the game. It will put the control back in their hands and undermine the strength of your decision. This is the moment to stand firm. Trust the process, even when it feels like nothing is happening. I want you to think about this like a ripple in water. When you drop a stone into a pond, the ripples start small, almost invisible. But given time, they grow, spreading outward in ways you might not even notice at first. Your silence is that stone. It's creating ripples in their world, even if they don't realize it yet. The quiet space you've created is unsettling, not in a harsh way, but in a way that makes them question, reflect, and eventually miss your presence. So here's the takeaway. Your silence is not weakness, it's strength. It's a statement that says, I don't need to prove anything to you. And that, folks, is a game changer. Have you ever been in a situation where silence turned the tables for you? Share your thoughts in the comments with just 2 words. Silence works. And don't forget, there's so much more to come. So stick around. Step 2. Embracing the shift in silence, folks. Let's talk about a powerful and transformative moment in any situation of silence. The realization of change. It doesn't come with a loud announcement or dramatic twist. Instead, it's subtle, sneaking in like a whisper, catching them off guard. When you step back and choose silence, you give space, not just to yourself, but to them too. And in that silence, something extraordinary begins to happen. They start noticing what's missing. Your absence, once taken for granted, becomes a glaring void that's hard to ignore. Think about it. How often do we fail to appreciate something until it's no longer there? Whether it's the comfort of a daily routine, a familiar voice, or the small gestures that quietly show love, it's the absence of these things that makes us realize their importance. That's the exact process happening to them. They've grown used to your attention, your kindness, your consistent presence. When that disappears, it disrupts their equilibrium, forcing them to confront a reality they weren't prepared for. A life without you. Initially, they might try to brush it off. It's fine, they tell themselves. I'll be okay. Maybe they dive into distractions, work, hobbies, or other people, trying to fill the gap left behind. But deep down, a seed of unease has been planted. They can't shake the subtle discomfort, the nagging feeling that something's not right. Every moment of silence from you reinforces this, making them wonder what's changed and why. In this phase, reflection becomes their constant companion. They start revisiting memories, those late-night talks, shared laughs, or even moments of disagreement where your care still shone through. They might replay conversations in their minds, looking for clues they missed before. Slowly but surely, they begin to connect the dots, realizing that your silence isn't just an absence. It's a presence in itself. It speaks volumes, sending a message that they can't ignore. But what's truly fascinating about this step is how it also stirs curiosity. As they reflect on the past, questions begin to bubble up. What's going on in their life? They wonder. Have they moved on? Are they happier without me? Have they forgotten about me entirely? This curiosity isn't just idle pondering. It's a driving force that keeps their thoughts circling back to you. They might not admit it out loud, but deep down, they're craving answers, clarity, and if they're honest, your presence again. At the same time, doubt creeps in. Were they too quick to dismiss you? Did they underestimate the value you brought to their life? These questions aren't easy to face, and the discomfort they feel is a testament to the impact you've had. It's a powerful shift, folks, because for the first time, they're seeing the relationship and you through a new lens. And let me tell you, that quiet realization can be more impactful than any argument or confrontation ever could. Now, let's not forget the other side of the equation. You. This isn't just about their journey. It's about yours too. By stepping back and embracing silence, you've created space for your own growth and reflection. You're no longer chasing validation or pouring your energy into someone who didn't appreciate it. Instead, you're reclaiming your power, focusing on yourself, and rediscovering your worth. This isn't about revenge or manipulation. It's about realigning with what truly matters. Patience plays a critical role here. I know it's tempting to check in, to see if they've noticed your absence, but resist that urge. The beauty of this step lies in letting it unfold naturally. Every moment you stay silent, you're reinforcing the boundaries you've set, showing them, and yourself, that you're not dependent on their acknowledgement to thrive. And while they're busy reflecting on what they've lost, you're busy building something better for yourself. This phase also highlights the undeniable power of contrast. When they eventually compare who you were to who you've become, the difference will be striking. You're no longer the person who gave without limits, hoping for crumbs of recognition. Instead, you've transformed into someone who values their energy and chooses where to invest it wisely. And that, folks, is incredibly attractive, not just to them, but to anyone who encounters the new you. As we wrap up this step, let's take a moment to reflect. Have you ever experienced a time when your silence spoke louder than words? A time when stepping back led to a profound shift in how someone saw you, or how you saw yourself? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Just drop 3 words. Silence brings clarity. And if this message resonates with you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join our growing community. Together, we'll keep exploring the depths of human connection and self-discovery. Now, let's move on to the next step. Step 3. Mastering emotional stability. All right, folks. Let's dive into one of the most powerful tools you can wield in relationships and in life: emotional stability. Imagine this. You're standing in the middle of a storm, surrounded by chaos and uncertainty, but you're unmoved. That's the kind of strength emotional stability brings. And let me tell you, it's a game changer. It's not just about keeping your cool. It's about showing the world and yourself that you're in control, no matter the circumstances. When someone sees that their actions can no longer rattle you, they're forced to reevaluate. They start to notice the strength you've built and the peace you radiate. And here's the thing, folks, emotional stability isn't just a skill, it's a signal. It tells others that you respect yourself too much to get caught up in unnecessary drama. And that, in itself, is magnetic. First things first, emotional stability starts with understanding the difference between reacting and responding. Reactions are impulsive. They're driven by the heat of the moment. And let's be honest, they often lead to regrets. Responding, on the other hand, is deliberate and thoughtful. It's the art of pausing, reflecting, and choosing how you want to handle the situation. Picture this. They send you a message that's clearly designed to get under your skin. A reactive response might be to snap back with anger or desperation. But what if, instead, you take a deep breath and choose to respond calmly or not at all? That silence, that restraint, speaks volumes. It shows that you're not just reacting to their bait. You're in control of your emotions, and that control demands respect. Here's the thing, folks. Emotional stability isn't just about how you interact with others. It's a reflection of how you value yourself. When you remain steady, even in the face of emotional turbulence, you're telling the world, I know my worth. You're setting boundaries, not by pushing others away, but by showing that their actions don't define your inner peace. People will test you. It's human nature to push boundaries, to see how far they can go. But when you stand firm, when you respond with calm confidence, you're sending a message. You're not someone to be toyed with. And let me tell you, that kind of quiet strength, it's unforgettable. Think about the impact of being the calmest person in the room. In a world full of noise and chaos, calm is a rarity. It's the kind of energy people gravitate toward. When you're emotionally stable, you're not just making a statement about yourself. You're creating a safe space for others. And ironically, that's often when the people who underestimated you start to crave your presence. You're no longer the person who reacts impulsively, who chases after answers or closure. You've become someone who values peace over confrontation, clarity over chaos. And folks, that's a powerful shift. It forces people to see you differently. It makes them wonder, what changed? Why can't I get a rise out of them anymore? Here's the beauty of emotional stability. It flips the script. Instead of you being the one seeking validation, you become the person others seek validation from. Your calm, composed demeanor acts like a mirror, reflecting their insecurities and making them question their approach. And that's when the dynamic shifts. They start to realize they're not dealing with the same person anymore. And let me tell you, folks, that realization is a wake-up call. It's the moment they start to respect you, maybe even admire you, in ways they never did before. Because emotional stability isn't just attractive, it's inspiring. It shows that you've done the work, that you've grown, and that you're not afraid to stand tall in your own truth. Now, I won't lie to you, emotional stability takes practice. It's not something you wake up with one day. It's a skill you build over time. Start by identifying your triggers. What situations or behaviors tend to provoke a strong emotional reaction in you? Once you know your triggers, you can work on managing them more effectively. Practice pausing before you respond. Use that pause to check in with yourself. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? How do I want to handle this? And remember, folks, it's okay to feel your emotions. Stability isn't about suppressing your feelings. It's about managing them in a way that aligns with your values and your self-worth. This journey isn't about being perfect. It's about progress. Every time you choose to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively, you're taking a step toward emotional mastery. And every step you take builds your confidence, your peace, and your ability to navigate relationships with grace. So here's my challenge to you. Think of one situation where you've reacted impulsively in the past. How would you handle it differently now, with emotional stability as your guide? Share your thoughts in the comments. Just 3 words that describe the emotionally stable version of yourself. And if this conversation is hitting home for you, don't forget to subscribe. Let's grow together, one step at a time. Step 4. The discomfort that creeps in. As time passes, folks, something unexpected starts to happen. While silence can be powerful and liberating, it also has a way of unsettling the other person. This discomfort doesn't manifest instantly. It sneaks in, gradually intensifying as they realize the control they once had is slipping away. That discomfort. It's their mind trying to reconcile what they thought they knew with the reality you've created through your silence. When you withdraw emotionally and focus on yourself, it leaves a void that wasn't there before. Suddenly, the absence of your voice, opinions, or validation becomes noticeable, and that's when the discomfort kicks in. They might start questioning why you're so calm, why you're not reacting the way they expected. This is the beauty of silence. It shifts the focus onto them, forcing them to confront their own feelings. Think about it. Imagine someone who once relied on your responses to feel in control, now left wondering what you're thinking or planning. They'll start replaying past interactions, searching for clues, trying to piece together where things might have gone wrong. This inner turmoil is powerful, folks, because it challenges their ego and forces introspection. Here's where the real growth for you happens. You're no longer letting their actions dictate your emotional state. By maintaining your silence, you've built a psychological boundary. You've shown that your peace isn't dependent on their validation. And in doing so, you've turned the tables completely. Now, this discomfort doesn't just impact them. It reshapes the dynamic entirely. They'll begin to realize that their attempts to manipulate, control, or disregard you aren't working anymore. That realization can be unsettling, even irritating for them. But for you, it's a moment of empowerment. It's proof that stepping back and focusing on your inner strength is the best response. At this point, folks, they may try subtle tactics to regain control, perhaps a casual text or a vague social media post aimed at drawing you out of your silence. Recognize this for what it is, a test of your emotional stability. Resist the urge to respond immediately. Let their discomfort work in your favor. Let it deepen their curiosity and compel them to see you in a new light. Discomfort is an incredibly powerful tool when used strategically. It doesn't require loud confrontations or dramatic exits. It thrives in subtlety. By staying quiet, you allow them the space to reflect. And often, that reflection is what drives meaningful change. So, while they're navigating their discomfort, you're reclaiming your power, one silent moment at a time. What about you? Folks, have you noticed this shift in someone's behavior when you chose silence? Drop a comment below like, "Silence reveals truths." And trust me, the next step will reveal exactly how this discomfort transforms their perspective on you. You won't want to miss it. Step 5. Rediscovering you in the quiet details. All right, folks, let's dive into one of the most subtle yet powerful aspects of stepping back and staying silent. The moments when someone begins to find you in the smallest, quietest parts of their life. It's not the big memories or significant milestones that haunt them. No, it's the little things. The song playing softly in a cafe, the way the sunlight filters through a window, or even the aroma of coffee brewing. It all somehow connects back to you. This stage of realization starts gently, often without them even noticing at first. Your absence creates a vacuum, a space for these tiny reminders to grow louder. Think about it. You've removed yourself from their life, leaving behind a trail of moments they now can't help but encounter. And those moments, they begin to stir emotions they didn't know were buried. Let me give you an example. Folks, imagine them walking past a spot where you both once shared a laugh, perhaps over something trivial yet unforgettable. That park bench or that corner table at the restaurant suddenly holds meaning. These seemingly mundane details transform into emotional landmarks, guiding them back to memories they thought they'd forgotten or had chosen to ignore. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. Once they notice these small reminders, they start actively seeking them. It's no longer just a random song or a passing place. It becomes deliberate. They revisit places you used to go together, scroll through old photos, or reread conversations, looking for pieces of you in the details of their everyday life. This is their way of grappling with the void your silence has created. It's not about needing you in those moments. It's about missing the connection they once had with you. Your absence turns into a magnifying glass, making those overlooked moments vivid and undeniable. The simplicity of those memories, your laugh, your favorite coffee order, or even the way you gestured when telling a story, becomes their focus. They realize that the things they once considered small are now the things they miss most. Now, folks, here's the key takeaway. This stage of rediscovery forces them to confront an uncomfortable truth. It's not just the big gestures that made you valuable to them. It's the small, consistent ways you were present in their life. These realizations shake them to their core as they begin to understand just how deeply your presence impacted their daily experience. But here's where your silence becomes even more powerful. While they're caught up in this spiral of rediscovery and longing, you're not sitting idle. You're building yourself up, thriving in your own life, and embracing growth. This contrast, their longing versus your evolving strength, becomes the ultimate realization for them. They see that while they're looking backward, you're moving forward. And that, folks, is what creates the most profound impact. So, how does this play out? They start viewing you through a new lens. Instead of someone they knew, you become someone they deeply miss. They don't just reminisce about the good times. They begin to understand your worth in ways they never did before. Your silence doesn't just make them notice you, it makes them crave the connection they lost. Now, I want to hear from you, folks. Have you ever been reminded of someone in the smallest, unexpected ways? Share 3 words that describe how that felt in the comments below. Let's keep the conversation going. And don't go anywhere. What comes next will shift their entire perspective. You won't want to miss it. Step 6. The struggle of replacing what's lost when someone attempts to fill the void you've left. It's natural for them to seek out new connections. On the surface, it might seem like they've moved on, but here's the reality, folks. They're often chasing a shadow of what you brought into their life. This struggle, this quiet frustration with finding someone new, isn't just about the challenges of meeting people. It's about realizing that new connections don't carry the depth or the history that yours did. Imagine this. They meet someone new, exchange a few laughs, maybe even go on a couple of dates. But something feels off. They can't quite put their finger on it. But deep down, they know this new person isn't filling the emotional space you occupied. The things that used to come naturally with you, the shared inside jokes, the effortless conversations, the way you just got each other, now feel like hard work with someone else. This frustration builds as they start comparing every interaction to the ones they had with you. Whether they admit it or not, they find themselves measuring this new connection against the depth and comfort you once provided. And here's the kicker. Folks, they realize that building something new from scratch can't compare to the foundation you had. Those new connections, they're not flawed, but they're different, and that difference is unsettling. What makes this even more impactful is the way their mind keeps circling back to you. They might try to convince themselves otherwise, but every time they laugh at a joke that isn't quite as funny, or share a story that doesn't hit the same, your absence becomes louder. They start to see that what they're looking for in others is, quite frankly, you. Now let's pause for a moment to think about why this happens. It's because you've removed yourself with grace and dignity. Your silence isn't a punishment. It's a statement of self-respect. By choosing to step back, you've given them the space to realize that what they're chasing isn't just another connection. It's the uniqueness of what you offered. And when they come up short in these new connections, that frustration becomes a mirror, reflecting back everything they didn't value while they had it. Here's the part where it gets even more interesting. Folks, as they navigate this discomfort, they often try to distract themselves, diving headfirst into social outings, dating apps, or even meaningless conversations. But distractions can only last so long. The harder they try to replace you, the more glaringly obvious it becomes that what they're searching for isn't out there. That's when the frustration reaches its peak. They feel stuck, unable to move forward with someone new because they're still anchored to what they lost with you. At this point, they might start wondering if they made a mistake. That nagging thought, what if I let go of something great, doesn't just pass through their mind. It settles there, growing louder with every unfulfilling interaction. And folks, this is where your silence becomes the most powerful. While they're frustrated and spinning in circles, you've been focusing on yourself, growing stronger, and becoming the best version of who you are. This stark contrast, their frustration versus your calm evolution, creates a gravitational pull. It's no longer just about missing you. It's about seeing the stark difference between what they thought they wanted and what they actually need. Now, let's hear your take, folks. Have you ever had someone try to replace you, only to realize they couldn't? Share one word that sums up how that felt for you in the comments below. And stick around, because what comes next will leave them questioning everything. Don't miss it. Step 7. Stay true to yourself, always. When you embrace authenticity, you become magnetic. There's something undeniably powerful about a person who knows themselves, stands firm in their values, and doesn't compromise their identity to fit into someone else's mold. This step, folks, is about being true to who you are, no matter how much noise surrounds you or how tempting it might be to act otherwise. Think about this. When someone rejects or distances themselves from you, the immediate temptation is often to change, to become someone you think they'd prefer. Maybe it's altering how you speak, your interests, or even your personality. But here's the truth. Nothing is more attractive than genuine authenticity. Pretending to be someone you're not might work temporarily, but eventually, the facade will crumble, leaving you feeling unfulfilled and out of alignment with your true self. Authenticity isn't just about being honest with others. It's about being honest with yourself. It's understanding your values, your worth, and what makes you uniquely you. When you stay grounded in your identity, you communicate confidence and self-respect. And confidence, it's one of the most alluring traits a person can have. People are drawn to those who exude a sense of self-assurance, not because they're perfect, but because they're real. Now, let's tie this back to why it matters when someone starts to see your authenticity. Imagine the scenario. You've been distant, giving them space, and in that silence, they've had time to reflect. Then they see you, thriving as the most genuine version of yourself. It's a stark contrast to the superficial personas they may encounter elsewhere. Your unwavering authenticity becomes a reminder of what they lost. Someone who was real, not just in words but in actions. Being authentic also means setting boundaries and knowing what you will and won't tolerate. It's not about being rigid or difficult. It's about valuing yourself enough to only accept what aligns with your true self. This, folks, is where your authenticity becomes a quiet strength. By staying true to who you are, you naturally filter out the wrong people while creating a stronger connection with the right ones. Here's another layer to this. When someone sees you being authentic, it forces them to confront their own lack of authenticity. Maybe they've been pretending, trying to fit into a certain mold, or acting out of alignment with their values. Watching you live unapologetically as yourself can be both inspiring and unsettling for them. They start to realize that being around you allowed them to feel more like themselves, and losing that makes them feel unmoored. Authenticity doesn't mean perfection. It's about embracing your quirks, your flaws, and the things that make you uniquely you. When you're authentic, you give others permission to do the same. And that's something most people deeply crave. The world is full of surface-level interactions, but real, genuine connections, they're rare. And the more authentic you are, the more likely you are to stand out in someone's mind. As they compare their current experiences to what they had with you, your authenticity becomes a benchmark. It becomes the thing they didn't know they needed until it was gone. They start to question why they let it slip away and, more importantly, how they can get it back. This step isn't about playing games or trying to manipulate someone into missing you. It's about showing up as the most genuine, confident version of yourself and letting that speak louder than anything else. So folks, what's one way you stay true to yourself, even in challenging situations? Drop a short answer in the comments below. Your insights might inspire someone else to embrace their authenticity. All right, folks, that's a wrap on today's video. Remember, The power of silence and authenticity isn't just about making someone notice your absence. It's about reclaiming your worth and living as the best version of yourself. Every step we've discussed today is designed to help you grow stronger, more confident, and more magnetic, no matter the situation. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our amazing community. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need these insights. And of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What's one thing you're taking away from today's video? Drop it in the comments below. Stay strong, stay true to yourself, and until next time, take care and keep shining. See you in the next video.